How you guys doing? This is Alan Peters of Peters Design Company. I'm here to tell you about one of my prints today. It's called Bike Love. It's a one-color gold foil. It's a bicycle combined with a heart, as simple as possible. Here. So this print right here, the idea behind it, Bike Love, my passion for bicycling is a deep one. It really started when I've always liked biking ever since I was a little kid. I remember racing around my neighborhood with my buddy Kyle. He had this crazy bike from Target, I think, that had it had 6 gears, but it had a shifter like a car. It was right in between the handlebars, and you shifted it forward and backwards. I remember remember the brand Fila? I had a Fila bike. Who knew they made bicycles? But yeah, I had a Fila mountain bike. I had so many crazy bikes over the years, biking at the cabin, biking at home. Dude, I love bicycling. My love of bicycling was really cemented when we were living in South Minneapolis, and I was working at BBDO, and then after that I worked at Target, both downtown Minneapolis companies. And I would bike commute every day. And it wasn't a long commute. It was probably about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how fast I could get myself going. And I just, I had a couple different paths I'd like to take, whether I was going to take side streets or if I was going to take the busier ones. And I've got a lot of stories about run-ins with cars and going over people's hoods and things like that. And it's dangerous biking downtown. Anybody who does it, if you follow anybody who posts about it, how scary it can be. So there's a little bit of a thrill in it and a fear factor at the same time. But if you're safe, you know what you're doing, and you can have a really great time. So here's why I loved that time, and why I just absolutely love biking to this day. When I'd be working a really long day, at BBDO, and let's say I had to work late that day, or even just dealing with intense meetings or something at one of these jobs, and I have business mode Alan, and then on the other side I've got we had a new baby around that time. We had Matthew, and I had to be nurturing and sweet and rocking babies to bed and gentle, and very different than I'm nice and fun to be with when you work with me, but I'm much more, I'm an adult, and I'm serious, and I'm focused, and I want to produce a lot of work in a short period of time. I want to make sure that I'm guiding my clients and my meetings in the right way. It's very strategic, right? And it's very much two different mindsets. And so this time that I had in between this transition when I was on that bicycle was so peaceful and such a healthy thing, so that those two worlds didn't start to mesh and overlap. Because if there's too much overlap with that sort of thing, I work from home now, and so I need to get my mind right before I go down to lunch, or before I go down to supper, after I've been working, and I need to take a second and transition, and it's hard, not having a little bit of transition time. Boy, but that time on that bicycle, I would come up with the best ideas for projects then, because I'd have some downtimes where I could just think, and I wasn't being distracted at all. I would have time to just work through anything. Let's say I was having a difficult time with somebody, whether at home or at work, or a neighbor, whoever. Maybe I just needed to work through something. I could pray while I was bicycling. It was just such a peaceful time. And then at the same time, there's the competitive side of me, and I'd be just biking along, and then some fast guy would go by me and be like, well, I gotta go fast too, and then I would go super fast for about 3 blocks, and then before you know it, I'd be daydreaming again, just biking along. But so there's all sorts of things that go into it. But do I have a love of biking? Yeah, absolutely. So this print really hits home for me. And the printing process is really interesting on this one. See this big old copper plate? This is for, see how it's embossed out there? This is for foil printing. So it's a gold foil. My ring is smashing against this. It is a gold foil print. The color of this doesn't matter. The way the foil works is the foil comes on a big roll. It's almost like Mylar, like a Mylar balloon, or like those shiny stickers, that kind of stuff, like the reflective and holographic stickers and stuff like that. So it's like this big roll of like shiny, it's like almost like shiny plastic. And this thing, they heat it up, stamp it on the foil, and then it comes down and stamps on a piece of paper, and they flip that one out, and then it just keeps doing it one after the other, right? And it's a pretty cool process. It's a pretty expensive process. And my buddy Ben Levitz of Studio on Fire partnered up with me on this one so that I could get it at an affordable price. So the whole point of these poster shows for me when I do them is to get a cool piece for my portfolio and to make my money back that I spent on printing. And so it was a little bit of a gamble hopping in and doing foil. Originally with this, because it's such a simple, like if you look at the design, it's so simple. It's one color. It could be pretty much anything. And because it's so simple, my default, like my thought was, let's make this black on white paper, or white on black paper, or let's make it white on red, or red on white, because it's a heart. Those are very simple solutions, right? And so that was my original thought. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, boy, one color. Wouldn't it be cool to do a foil on this one? And so originally I bid it out both as screen print and as foil. And so Ben of Studio on Fire, I've known him for a long time. Back in the day when I was looking for my second job, ready to transition out of Initio and go to a new place, I had interviewed with Ben back when he was at Carmichael Lynch Thorburn, of all places. Really cool agency run by Bill Thorburn. And I interviewed with Ben, and I just had a great conversation. And he talked about his, getting into letterpress. I mean, his studio started in his basement as one letterpress machine, and then it grew and it grew, and they went from renting a studio space to renting a whole, like most of a floor was like a whole basement where they were like lowering these giant letterpress printers into the basement, to now where they have their own building, and it's huge. It's like a warehouse size. It's a full size printing studio, but they print letterpress and they specialize in foil. So I talked to Ben, and because I've known him for a long time, and I don't know if that's definitely why, but he made it affordable for me, and I really appreciate that. He's a great guy. His family's awesome. Thank you, Ben. So one of the other cool things he did is, since he knows we homeschool our kids, and because I was kind of curious too, I told him I was kind of mixed on the color. I showed him a couple of options. I was like, what do you like best? Because Ben is a killer designer, and I value his opinion quite a bit. And I told him about the black, I told him about gold, and I told him about red. And I was kind of on the fence about the three. And he's like, I'll tell you what, when we throw this on press, it's easy to switch out the roll. Once this copper plate, this is made, switching out the roll isn't too hard. It takes about 10 minutes or so. He's like, I can have a couple of each, all printed up for you, of each of these colors. And you can look at it in person, and you can make a decision and really kind of see the whole process as well. And then he told me that I could bring, the whole family down so we can make it a field trip. They could see how the whole system, everything worked at the studio, which is really neat, seeing all those big machines. At the same time, like with little kids and giant letterpress, like, all the belts and everything, you're like, stay close, don't get like wrapped up in that, there's blood flying everywhere. You're like, that'd be scary. That didn't happen, thank God. Had all the chicks close, and bring your herd around, and they got to see everything, and it was really neat. And they got to see all these different color options. So I actually have some here to show you today. One of the options he showed me was black. So the cool thing with a black foil is it does have that sheen to it. It stamps right into the paper, so that you can kind of see the texture to it there. it stamps right through it. So it has a nice texture. It's a little shinier, and it definitely has a unique look to it that doesn't look like screen printing, doesn't look like digital printing. It's very special and pretty cool. One of the other things we looked at was the red. And I was having a hard time finding my matte red, because I had a matte red one, which I really like. I don't know where the heck I put that thing. I think I framed it and put it in a corner, so I need to get it back out. But here's the metallic, like shiny red, which has a cool look to it too. You know, that's a nice looking print. But in the end, my gut instinct that I started with from the beginning was just like, let's see this puppy in gold. And look how pretty that looks. It's so nice. And I keep thinking of like, what else could this be? You know, I've done this foil print, but with the one color design, I think there's so much more we could do with it. Like, I kind of want to try this. I think it would work really great. I think you could do an embroidered hat, and I have to double check, but I think the width of this might be thick enough that I could do the 3D, it's called 30 puff, and 3D puff embroidery, where it kind of bumps out like this. It kind of looks like a ball cap, has a nice feel to it. I think that would look really nice. A t-shirt, like you can imagine, that would look really good on a t-shirt. And even like a digital print, you know, I might be able to play with the color a little bit more, you know, doing a nice, beautiful museum grade digital print. And then other than that, I think that would even make a really cool necklace. You know, like if you did this one color as jewelry, I think that could be really, really nice. I'd have to partner with somebody on that, other than my current vendor that I'm working with. But yeah, if you guys have thoughts on would you like it on a hat, and if so, is there a colorway that you are thinking? Like, would you want like a red hat with white, or would you want a black hat with a red or a white this design on it? You know, same with shirt. Like, what colorway do you think would be really? I mean, this could be anything. We could do 7 different colorways, and everybody could pick their fave. But I'm kind of curious what you guys are thinking. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, and I really appreciate you guys watching these videos and connecting with me this way. It's really difficult right now, like this time, to connect with people, and it can feel kind of solitary and lonely for everybody, myself included. And so I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you watching and connecting with me. And then hopefully in the near future, you know, I can meet you guys all at conferences and things like that, and in person, and shake your hand and sell you some posters, you know, not off the internet, but hand them to you and talk you through the thinking on them in person. Hey, thanks a lot. And, you know, just, thanks for your follow. Thanks for being here on Instagram. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, thanks for following me on there too. Bye, guys.